My best friend fiancée is being inappropriate with me during a weekend trip. Later, she confessed to being a lesbian. To make this easier, let's call my friend Kate 23 female and her fiancé John 29 male. I 21 female met Kate during my sophomore year of high school through mutual acquaintances. We became very close, so naturally I was devastated when she moved several states away after graduating. Despite the distance, we kept contact and remained as good of friends as ever. About 2 years ago, my family happened to take a vacation in very close proximity to her new home. So, we excitedly planned to meet. It felt amazing to see her again. We both dashed out of our cars and hugged and squealed like stereotypical best friends. We hung out all evening and caught up with one another in person. Also, I had the chance to finally meet her fiancé of 1 year. I had heard only great things about this guy and he seemed very pleasant. Shortly after returning home, I received a text message from an unknown number, John. He thanked me for stopping by to see Kate, saying that it really lifted her spirits and he hadn't seen her so happy in a long time. Understanding the personal issues Kate had been struggling with lately, I told him I was glad to have helped. I assumed Kate had given him my number and didn't think much else about it. John would text me here and there about little insignificant things. He'd mention a movie him and Kate were about to see and ask my opinion, or suggest to me a fun new video game they'd bought. I would answer his questions or respond to suggestions, but never carry on a conversation beyond the original topic. John would attempt to keep me talking, but I always dropped off due in part to me not being very big on texting. More than a year after seeing Kate, I received a very late-night text from John saying, "I miss you." Assuming he had sent this to me by mistake, I ignored it. Fast forward to a month or so ago, I took a weekend trip to visit Kate. We had been planning this get-together for a while and I was super excited to spend some much-needed girl time with her. I had been anticipating a chill weekend with my best friend, but nothing could have prepared me for the Twilight Zone shit I was about to walk into. Kate and John picked me up from the airport and I was made to feel uncomfortable almost immediately. John had extended his arms for a hug upon my arrival, which I thought nothing of and accepted. He held me a bit too tightly and a bit too long, and then commented on how hot I looked. Not nice or even pretty, hot. I sort of just laughed awkwardly and looked towards Kate, who seemed to not be paying attention at the moment. I pushed this aside, chalking it up to a social fluke on his part, and enjoyed the rest of my day with them. The daylight hours went smoothly, save for John suggesting several times that we all get drunk that evening. Not being a drinker, I declined only to have him get a little pushy with it. I politely reaffirmed my opinion, and he eventually dropped it. After returning to their home, the three of us hung out in the family room and watched a bit of television. We all began talking, and somehow came to the topic of a pregnancy scare Kate had told me about a few months prior. John proceeded to tell me how stupid Kate was for the way in which she worried over a possible pregnancy. He said that he had told her several times that it was hardly possible and to stop being such a stupid fucking spaz over it. He went on to tell me that it was her own fault for forgetting her birth control, and that it was bullshit for her to then expect him to use a condom. I was entirely thrown off at the way he had raised his voice and talked so rudely about my friend. I defended her, saying that it was an entirely legitimate thing to worry over, and that if she prefers that he wear a condom in order to be safe, that he should respect her wishes. He only laughed at me and Kate stayed totally silent during the entire interaction. John then asked if I wanted to sleep in bed with him and Kate rather than in the guest room, which I found totally strange. I declined the offer and went to bed. The following morning, Kate and I had made plans to go shopping. She mentioned John wouldn't be with us because he had to work, which I was very grateful for. Before leaving the house, however, John stopped me and said, "You're a heavy sleeper." Confused, I gave a weird look and asked what he meant. He went on to say, "You're a heavy sleeper. You don't even wake up when people touch you now normally." I would have interpreted this as someone possibly trying to rouse me earlier by tapping my shoulder or something along those lines. But the way in which John was smirking at me, and the inflection and emphasis he had put on the word touch, caused me to think otherwise. I asked John what the fuck he was talking about, and he only laughed, saying it was nothing. Now, I happen to take some relatively strong sleeping pills which Kate is aware of. These knocked me out pretty hard, but I believe I would have woken up given the chance that someone entered the room or touched me inappropriately. So I highly doubt anything actually happened, but the possibility of him groping me in my sleep makes me sick. Actually, the fact that he would say that to me just to cause anxiety makes me sick. I went on to try and enjoy my outing with Kate, which unfortunately didn't offer much solace. While stopped at a red light, Kate and I sat quietly as a group of pedestrians crossed the street. Kate made a comment on how beautiful one particular girl in the crowd happened to be. I agreed that she was a very pretty woman, only for Kate to suddenly spout out, "I'm not attracted to men." She had said this as if the words had been dying to leave her lips for years. I was pretty dumbfounded and caught off guard by the sudden confession, as I had never entertained the idea of Kate being a lesbian. She had mentioned once a short fling she shared with a girl in middle school, but claimed it to have been nothing more than a cry for attention. We joked about this here and there, but I never thought she could have been lying. I didn't answer due to lacking a decent response, so she followed up by blatantly telling me that she is a lesbian and that she doesn't love John. I asked Kate why on earth she would marry him then, and she only said, "Because I think it's what I should do." I tried to talk to her more about this, but she then told me she would prefer the subject be dropped. At this point, I was counting down the hours to my flight home the next morning, and after hearing John would be joining us for dinner, I was even more eager to get away. After meeting up with him, the three of us began walking into the restaurant only for me to catch John's hand veering dangerously close to my butt. I shifted away and he moved very quickly in an attempt to grab it. Luckily, I managed to jump to the side, leaving him with only his fingertips brushing my skirt. I told him to watch his flucking hands and he just laughed again and made some kind of comment on my appearance and the fact that he couldn't help it. Dinner couldn't have gone by slower. I sat there hardly saying a word and wondering if I should just try and get a hotel room for the evening. However, my stupid self decided that I could make it one more night and save the cash. I told Kate that I was very tired the moment we got back to her place, but she insisted that I watch our favorite movie together before I have to go home. Unable to say no, the two of us head up to her room. Her roommate's bedroom is on the bottom floor next to the family room, so the television would have woken them up. About an hour into the movie, John comes in and asks to watch with us. Kate tells him of course, and hardly 10 minutes passes before he's attempting to convince Kate and I to kiss. I say no repeatedly and just keep looking at the screen. Kate isn't saying a damn word about it, and John actually starts pleading with us to just kiss really quick, so I tell him to shut up and that he's ruining the movie. A couple more minutes of silence pass by until John outright asks if I'd like to sleep with him. The way that he went about asking was as if he had deluded himself into thinking he was fucking irresistible to me. I told him no and pointed out the fact that Kate was sitting right next to me. I looked at her, expecting some kind of response, but it was obvious that she'd totally spaced out at this point. John informed me that Kate was fine with sharing him. He continued to badger me and insisted that I show him some appreciation for allowing me to stay in his home. I looked at Kate and asked her, "How the fuck are you okay with this?" She looked as if she was unable to hear me, staring straight ahead with dull eyes. I got up to leave, only for John to attempt to block the door. Mind you, I'm a 5-foot-tall, 100-pound girl being physically blocked by a very large man. I tell John firmly to move, only for him to once again say that I owe him. I took my chances and shouldered my way past him. Luckily, he didn't do much but attempt to grab me as I exited the room. I gathered my things quickly and got the hotel room. Kate never even acknowledged what happened. I think she may be suffering from either John's abuse or some kind of mental disorder, which makes me feel bad for being angry with her. But I'm very angry that she sat by and did nothing while her fiancé was so aggressive with me. Kate is aware that I was SA'd in the recent past and therefore am sensitive to such pushy advances. I talk to Kate very sparsely, and she doesn't seem to understand why. By coincidence, I happen to have accepted a role in an internship program close to the city she lives in. Within a month, I will be living in very close proximity to both her, and John and I need to figure out what to do. I want to help my friend. I'm afraid that she is experiencing abuse, living a lie by pretending to be heterosexual, and may possibly be suffering from some kind of mental illness. I have never been in a situation like this and I'm at a complete loss. I don't want to see Kate after I move because that in turn means I'll see John. Any advice as to how I can help her and try to diffuse this situation would be massively helpful. Edit. Woo, oh my gosh, I just woke up and I had no expectations of this post blowing up so much. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for all of the advice and support. Seriously, you guys have no idea how much it means to me. I've decided to talk to Kate. I'm nervous as hell because I have no clue how she'll react, but I need to reach out to her. She has been there for me during trying times in my life. I want to be there for her. I know for a fact that John works tonight and Kate will accompany him sometimes and just sort of sit there and be idle all evening. Should have recognized this as weird earlier, but I don't know if she's going tonight. I asked if she'd like to Skype this evening and she responded with, "Why do you want to talk to me all of a sudden?" I told her I'd just like to catch up and apologize for being so busy as of late. Haven't received an answer just yet, but I'll try my best to update tonight if we get the chance to talk. Once again, thank you everyone. I'll try to respond to as many comments as possible. I'm not receiving any good advice from those close to me, so this is insanely beneficial. Edit 2, Skyping with Kate tonight. She agreed a lot more excitedly than I had anticipated, judging by her preceding texts. We chatted for just a little bit afterward, and oddly, she brought up the fact that she had recently watched Rush and commented on how hot Chris Hemsworth is. I was a bit thrown off for obvious reasons, given that she had not only confessed to being lesbian, but verbatim told me she's not attracted to men. Maybe I'm reading too far into it, so I just agreed that yes, Chris Hemsworth is indeed gifted and told her I couldn't wait to talk tonight. I'm still very nervous. Update 8 months later. So I know my original post is super old, but I received an invitation to Kate and John's wedding today. It reminded me of this whole thing, and more importantly the fact that I never really thanked everyone for all your supportive comments and advice. Thank you very, very much to plenty of people have been asking for an update, but honestly I became so busy with prepping to move that Reddit was not on my list of priorities. So, on to the update. I went through with the Skype chat as planned. Luckily I had successfully caught Kay alone. We small talked for hardly a minute because my nerves were buzzing and I wanted to get this over with. I jumped right to it and explained to her why I'd been distancing myself, that John's behavior was seriously concerning. I listed to her the exact events that had made me feel uncomfortable both for her safety and mine. She listened in dead silence, as I'm certain this had not been her expectation for our chat. After I'd finished, I asked why she would want to spend her life with this man, especially since she'd confided in me her being attracted to girls. Kate broke down pretty quickly, and to sum it up, she's been in love with me since high school. I can't put into proper words how I feel about this part. Yes, as some of you had suggested, Kate and John had been trying to set up a three-way the entire weekend I was there. I asked her whose idea it had been, and she said it was hers, but that John was incredibly excited at the suggestion. She admitted to having planned the entire thing out with John before even inviting me to visit. She said they planned to see if the intimacy would come naturally and then try and initiate if that were not the case. I asked her why she was okay with John acting so coercive, and she said he'd promised to make it happen no matter what after I hadn't caught the hint the past 2 nights. She said she felt desperate to be with me intimately and would do anything for that to happen. I asked her even if it meant having to force me, and she said maybe so, but I would enjoy it eventually. That I would probably have just given in and she could join if John had followed through. Not gonna lie. This made me feel fucking sick, but I set those feelings aside and told her very gently that I don't reciprocate her romantic feelings, but I still care for her as a friend. I told her that I feared for her safety and happiness and only wanted to help. Well, that completely flipped a switch. Honestly, I've never seen Kate angry. She's a passive person to a fault, but holy shit did she lose it on me. Kate made a total 180 and began making accusations that didn't make sense. That I was trying to steal John away from her and that I can't have him, that his sexual aggression towards me, as well as my past sod, was directly my fault due to how I dress and present myself. That all her insecurities are my fault because she has to put up with John talking about how I look and asking why she can't act more like me. I enjoy doing my makeup and hair, wearing dresses and heels when I go out, while Kate wears only baggy clothing and does nothing to her hair or face. It's always been this way. We just have different styles. Anyhow, she ended her tirade telling me to unalive myself, so honestly I hung up after that. I feel as though Kate is dealing with issues that are far out of my league to assist with, and I couldn't continue speaking to her. My internship is over now, so I'm home and away from both of them. During my internship, they both attempted to contact me multiple times, but I always deleted the messages. Kate simply ignored what had transpired between us and asked why I wouldn't speak to her. Then John made a few jokes about kidnapping me. I only saw the both of them once during my entire internship. I had the chance to attend a large pop culture convention, and I was seriously so stoked about it, despite having no friends to go with. Luckily, I found a couple girls on Facebook through my internship group page who were also looking for people to go with. I knew for a fact Kate and John would be going, as they attend every year, plus the costume I chose to wear was near unmissable, so I was certain they would notice me. But honestly, I was not about to let them spoil the event for me and went anyhow. I gave the girls a rundown of the situation, and they all assured me they had my backs. Lo and behold, as I'm standing in an autograph line with my friend, who hugs me from behind but John, I basically went into spaz mode and flailed until he let go. Dickweed acted confused. Kate was right beside him being quiet. I'd like to say that I told him off like a champ, but I didn't. I was scared, honestly, so I just ran. I was wearing massive heels, so I had to do that weird crouch move where you're not really running, but more so fast walking like a werewolf. Couple of the girls followed me to make sure I was good. Never saw them again. I know the general consensus was to not cut Kate out of my life, but I honestly do not believe either of them are safe to be around. I feel that Kate is dealing with something beyond what I can assist with, and my personal safety needs to come first. Obviously, I'm not going to the wedding. Thank you for all the helpful advice and support I received on my previous post.